Hello, and thank you all for joining us today for our webinar on education planning. Start planning for the future now. My name is Madison Bennett. I'm a financial planner here at the Financial Consulate, and I've been with the firm a little over 2.5 years.
And I'm Christina Vaughn. I've been with the consulate for about 3.5 years. At the firm, I'm an associate financial planner, compliance coordinator, and I'm involved in our tax season.
With all the uncertainty going on in today's world and education being on the forefront of many people's minds, we want to make certain that you have a plan for your children's education. We hope this webinar can provide many of you with answers and get you on the right path to start planning for your children's education. So as we go through, please feel free to write any questions you may have using the Q&A application at the bottom of your screen. We'll provide answers through there as well.
Here is a quote by Pablo Picasso that we felt was very fitting for today's webinar and our topic. Our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan in which we must fervently believe and upon which we must vigorously act. There is no other route to success. We hope this webinar can be used as a resource to help you get started on your education planning journey. Here I have listed today's outline of what we're going to cover during this webinar. Things that we'll discuss in the next hour are tuition costs, FAFSA, scholarships, grants versus loans. We'll discuss 2 types of education savings vehicles. We'll also discuss saving for retirement while also saving for college. And then also some additional tips for education planning.
So before you start planning how you would like to fund your children's education, ensure that you speak with your spouse about what your end goal is. Do you want to be able to pay for all 4 years of each of your children's education? Do you want to only pay for tuition and leave room and board up to your children? Are you going to only pay for half and have your children take out loans or apply for scholarships for the rest? We just want to reiterate how important it is to discuss these topics early so you can plan how much you need to save, and this will ensure that you meet your goals.
So what are some typical college expenses that you should prepare for? First, tuition and fees. Room and board, for example, will your student live in a dorm on campus or in an apartment on or off campus? Books and supplies. And those could be a laptop, pens, pencils, notebooks, calculators, and also transportation and other living expenses. Here are some annual tuition estimates from the academic year 2017 to 2018. Community college was approximately $3,500. Public university for an in-state student averaged at $10,000, while an out-of-state student averaged around $25,600. Private university totaled around $35,000 for a year. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, college tuition and fees have risen nearly 500% over the last 30 years, while the overall inflation rate has only doubled. But as you can see on this chart, within the past few years, we've seen that that line has started to flatten. So now we're going to discuss FAFSA, and you may say, what is FAFSA? FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Federal financial aid is need-based and determined by a simple equation, the cost of attending college minus the expected family contribution, which then equals the amount of financial aid your student will likely receive. The federal deadline each year is June 30th, while state deadlines vary. So for example, Maryland's deadline is March 1st. If you follow the link at the bottom of this slide, you can set up an account with FAFSA, and that's how you can complete an application. The earlier you complete an application, the better. So here we have listed the 5 steps for FAFSA. First, you'll need to plan how you will pay for college. As I mentioned earlier, the sooner you develop this plan, the better. Next, you'll fill out the FAFSA application. Before each year of college, apply for federal grants, work study, and loans. Your college uses FAFSA data to determine your federal aid eligibility. Next, you'll need to review your aid offers. Your aid offer explains the types and amounts of aid a college is willing to offer you and the expected costs for that year. If your student has been accepted to multiple colleges, it's best to compare those costs and the offers you got to see which is best. And after you've compared that and reviewed all options, you'll need to accept an aid offer. Lastly, your student will graduate from college, and then that's when they'll start repayment of any loans they've taken out. So scholarships is a form of financial aid. We recommend that you contact the financial office of whatever college your student attends to ask what scholarships are available so you can see what's out there to apply for. Each school within the college will offer a specific scholarship unique to that major. So if you have an accounting major, contact the business school and they can tell you what's out there. It's smart to apply for scholarships that you may think that don't apply for you. You might be surprised what kind of scholarships you could be awarded. Grants and loans are also both forms of financial aid. Grants are gift aid awarded to students, often based on financial need. Grants are not repaid, and they typically come from the government, nonprofit organizations, or the school itself. Loans are money that you borrow with the expectation that you will pay it back. This can be borrowed from either federal student loans through the government or private student loans from banks or credit unions. There are two types of federal loans, subsidized and unsubsidized. Subsidized means that the federal government pays the interest while the student is in college. The student doesn't have to pay interest until they start paying back the loan. Typically, after graduation, there's about a 6-month grace period before the student is expected to start paying that back. And an unsubsidized loan means that interest starts accruing as soon as the loan is taken out. So between the two, a subsidized loan is more favorable for the student. Students can be offered both types of loans. So now we're going to discuss two types of education savings vehicles. The Coverdell Education Savings Plan or Savings Account is one, and then the other one is the 529 plan. The Coverdell Education Savings Accounts tend to have more limitations compared to a 529 plan. For an example, to open an account, the beneficiary must be either under age 18 or a special needs beneficiary. Contributions are also not tax deductible, unlike some cases with the 529 plan. Total contributions for all accounts on behalf of a beneficiary in any year cannot exceed $2,000, so you're limited in that as well. You can receive tax-free distributions if used to pay for qualified education expenses, and we'll go into a list of what those qualified education expenses can be in a later slide. The account must be distributed when the beneficiary reaches age 30 unless they're a special needs beneficiary. So that means the entire account must be liquidated. So now I'm going to turn it over to Maddie, who's going to go into detail about the 529 plans.
Thanks, Christina. So a 529 plan is a specialized savings account used to save money for college. It offers financial aid and tax benefits. Almost every state has at least one 529 plan. However, they do vary from state to state. Today, we're going to primarily focus on Maryland 529 plans. So Maryland 529 plans are categorized into two types. There is the prepaid college tuition plan, and then there's the college savings plan. So the prepaid tuition plan allows you to prepay a part or all of an in-state public college education. So essentially, you're purchasing a contract that will pay a specific value in the future. So you won't have a value on your account like a mutual fund, but the trust will pay benefits in future tuition dollars. So if your child decides to attend a Maryland public college, the prepaid college tuition plan will pay the full in-state tuition and mandatory fees. However, there is the potential to allow for conversion of the funds to be used for private universities or out-of-state colleges. At a private or an out-of-state college, the plan will either pay the weighted average tuition or your minimum benefit, whichever is greater, and then you will just have to make up the difference. So you can start with as little as 1 semester and buy additional semesters or years at any time that you wish. And if your child decides not to attend college, you can delay your account up to 10 years from the projected year of college enrollment. In addition, you can also change the beneficiary on your account to another qualified family member without any tax consequences. So then we have the college savings plan, which allows you to make after-tax contributions and invest them in mutual funds or like-kind investments. So they do require a minimum initial contribution amount of $25, and any contribution thereafter does have a minimum of $25. And you can make contributions. You can set up recurring withdrawals from your bank account to be moved to the 529 plan, say monthly or yearly. You can also set up payroll deductions to be placed into the 529 plan. And of course, you can always make one-time contributions through a check or just going online and paying that way. It also provides you with investment options to choose from, which I'll go into a little bit more detail about in a couple slides. So who can be the beneficiary of a 529 plan? Essentially anybody can. There is no age requirement. The money can be kept in the account indefinitely. There can only be one beneficiary per plan. However, the plan owner can change the beneficiary anytime to a qualifying family member of the current beneficiary without any tax consequences. So who controls the investments? The account owner does. There are a variety of portfolios that the owner can choose from that the contributions will be invested in. So for Maryland 529 plans, they offer 2 different investment approaches. The first being enrollment-based portfolio, where you choose a portfolio with the year closest to when your child will first enter college. So say your child is expected to be in their first year of college in 2035, you would select portfolio 2035. So one of the benefits to this is the portfolio changes automatically with your child's time horizon. So you simply just pick which portfolio, and then from there, it'll readjust accordingly. So when your child's further away from entering college, it's going to be a more aggressive portfolio consisting of more stocks and bonds. And then as your child approaches, gets closer to the year in which they will first attend college, it'll be more conservative. It consists of more bonds and mutual funds. And then the second option is a fixed portfolio, which consists of 9 different models, all with a mix of stocks, bonds, and money market mutual funds. Now with this one, it does not change automatically like the enrollment-based portfolio one. So you will have to kind of go in and check and make sure that how it's invested is still aligned with your child's time horizon. So obviously, if you pick a portfolio consisting of more stocks, it'll be more risky. However, the return is higher. If you pick a portfolio with more bonds or money market mutual funds, it'll be less risky. However, the rate of return will be less. So who can make contributions to a 529 plan? Anybody can, really. It doesn't have to be just the account owner. So it can be parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends. Maryland 529 plan offers a cool tool called Go Tuition Gifting Portal, where the account owner will set up a personalized profile, personalized to the beneficiary, and then they can send out the link to friends and family or even post it on social media. And that's how people can just use that link and make the contributions that way. So there is a maximum contribution limit for 529 plans. It does vary by state, ranging from $235,000 to $539,000. For Maryland, the maximum account value per beneficiary is $350,000. Now, this doesn't mean that the account can't grow more than $350,000. It just means that the actual contributions cannot exceed that amount. Now, keep this in mind that when you make, when you're either contributing to your children's plan or you're contributing to a friend or a niece or a nephew, that a gift to a 529 plan is considered a completed gift. So anything more than the federal gift tax exclusion could be subject to federal gift tax. So the federal gift tax exclusion per person per beneficiary is $15,000 and $30,000 for a married couple. One strategy to consider is a 5-year contribution strategy where one person can contribute up to $75,000 and $150,000 per married couple in 1 year to be accounted for the next 5 years. For more specifics on the tax implications for your situation, refer to your advisor. Benefits are there to a 529 plan. Any earnings that the account earns grows tax-free. Withdrawals are federally income tax-free and penalty-free as long as they are used for qualified education expenses, which I'll discuss on the next slide. And there are potential tax deduction on state returns for contribution, which Christina will talk about in a few slides. So we've been mentioning qualified education expenses a lot. So here's what they are. So tuition and fees, books, so any textbooks required for your courses, any required school supplies, so pens, notebooks, paper for your printer, stuff like that, as well as room and board. So whether they live in a dorm on campus or if they live in an off-campus apartment, that is considered a qualified education expense. As well as computers and any other related equipment that is needed. So printers, Wi-Fi, stuff like that. So can I use my 529 plan for elementary and secondary school expenses? And the answer is yes. You can take up to $10,000 per year for private K through 12 tuition expenses, which is another added benefit to contributing to a 529 plan if you send your kids to private school. Another recent qualified education expense is homeschool expenses, which is extremely relevant in our world today, as many parents are considering homeschool as opposed to sending their kid to a private or a public school. 529 plans allow up to $10,000 per year for homeschool expenses. So this is definitely a good part of a 529 plan if this is what you'd like to do for your children. So just effective at the start of this year, so January 1st, 2020, after the Secure Act was passed, student debt repayment is now considered a qualifying education expenses from a 529 plan. So you can use a lifetime limit of $10,000 from a 529 plan to pay for student loan repayment or debt. Note here that it is a lifetime limit. It's not an annual limit, so you are limited to $10,000 per plan. However, an additional $10,000 can be used for each of the beneficiary's siblings for their student debt as well. Keep in mind that any distributions made from a 529 plan that are not used for a qualified education expense are subject to ordinary income taxes plus a 10% penalty on the portion of the withdrawal. Note here that it's just the portion of the withdrawal that is subject to the income taxes and the 10% penalty, not the whole account.
So what states offer a tax benefit for a 529 contribution? According to the Net 529 College Savings website, there are 6 states that offer state tax benefits for contributions to any state's 529 plan. There are 16 states who either do not have state income taxes or do not offer a state tax deduction for 529 plan contributions. There are 28 states that offer tax benefits for contributions to that state's 529 plan. As you saw on the map, Maryland is a tax benefit state. The tax deduction for Maryland is $2,500 per person per beneficiary, or $5,000 for a married couple per beneficiary. There's a 10-year carry forward for excess contributions. For example, a married couple could contribute a lump sum of $50,000 to a beneficiary's 529 plan, and they would be eligible to deduct $5,000 for the next 10 years. If you have a carry forward for excess contributions, make sure if you're preparing your return that you're keeping track of that, or that you're informing your tax professional that you're making these contributions so that they can keep track of it. If the consulate is preparing your tax return and you're letting us know of your contributions, we're keeping track of that spreadsheet for you.
So here's a free tool which you can find on the Maryland 529 website, which is a college tuition cost calculator, which can kind of give you a general idea of what if your current savings are going to be enough to fund your college education, or if they're not, what additional savings you need to make per month to meet that goal. So if you see in the upper left, you can input your child's current age, and then below that, it automatically populates the current annual cost of a 4-year Maryland school. And then you can input what the account balance is currently, or whatever your initial contribution was, and then any monthly contributions that you make, as well as any annual or yearly contributions that you make, or say your grandparents decided that every Christmas they're going to give $500 to your child. Here's where you could input those sort of things. And then below that, there is a rate of return, which is inputted into the system as well. You won't need to input that. And then below, you can pick what percentage you wish to fund of your children's education. So in this example, we want to fund 85% of our child's college education. And then on the right, it breaks it down for you. If you look at the chart, it shows that the cost of college in 2037 through 2040 will be around $50,000. In the gray, it shows the amount that, so that 15% that you aren't going to fund. And then in the blue, it shows what your current savings, what it will fund. And then if there is any additional funding needed or the shortfall, it'll show it in orange. So in this situation, you need about $215,000 for all 4 years for your child's college education. And below that, it shows what 85% of that would be. And then right below that, it shows what your current savings will account to. So in this scenario, it shows that your current savings will make up 99% of that 85%. So there is a small shortfall, and in this situation, you only need to save an additional $2 every month. So it's just a good tool you can use to see where you are, if you're saving enough, if you need to save more, or what you need to start saving if you haven't started at all yet. So I know a lot of people may be thinking, how can I save for retirement and college at the same time? And one tip we give to you is just do not let one goal detriment the other. So don't delay saving for retirement in order to be able to fund your children's education. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the airplane oxygen mask concept. Make sure that you are ready and good to go first before you tend to your children. And start early for both. Time is going to be on your side. The earlier you start, the more time your investments have to grow, and the more years you can make contributions to the account. And then just one last education planning option is encourage your children to take advanced placement courses or online transferable credits. My high school allowed seniors to take a half day, so that way they could go and take classes at the local community college. So I took my English there my senior year of high school, which accounted for my college English as well as my high school senior year English. So going into my freshman year of college, I already had 6 credits. This allowed them, excuse me, to earn credits early and speed up that path to graduation. So you'll save money on tuition, room and board, and meals that you would have to pay at a university if they were earning the credits there. However, remember that when they're signing up for these courses, to ensure that these credits earned are transferable to the college of choice or the chosen major. So if they don't know their major yet and are going into college undecided, encourage them to take just a core class that they know every college will require, like English, math, or science. So that way you're still taking advantage of credits before you enter college. So that is it for our webinar. We want to thank you guys so much for attending. Here are our emails on the right. If you have any questions that may come up after the webinar, feel free to shoot them our way and we'll get back to you on that. As well as we're going to leave this up for another 15 minutes or so for you guys to leave any further questions through the Q&A, and we will respond to you through that. We want to thank you guys again, and stay tuned for our next slide, which will give a further details on our upcoming webinar in September. Thank you guys again, and have a great day.